Hello, and thank you for joining me today. If this is your first time visiting, I certainly appreciate you giving me an opportunity. And for those that are returning, of course, as always, thank you for your continued support. It really does mean a lot to me. Now, I'm sitting in the garage here today, and as you can see, there's no 2000 Accord or 93 Civic. I'm not working on a car today, so they all seem to be functioning fine right now, which is good news for me for a change. I am going to do something to not get my hands dirty today. Now, in my living situation, I have, my own garage, and I have a clicker to open that garage. Now, this thing usually stays up in my apartment. It's on the 3rd floor, and I find myself out in the garage or in the parking lot sometimes. It's taking garbage out, doing this or that, and I'm like, well, I need to get in the garage. So I got to go all the way back upstairs, get the clicker, and come back down. So it occurred to me one day, well, the one thing I do always have with me, same with most of you, is my telephone. So I thought, is there a way I could actually get that garage door to go up and down with my phone? Now, a few years ago, I got interested in microcontrollers. The item is called an Arduino. For those of you who don't understand, I'll explain that a little bit more in depth, but it's something that you can program to do certain things. And they come in these little breakout boards, and they're very small, and they're compact, and they're fun to play with. You can do all kinds of things with them. And so I put my brain to work, and this is what I came up with. Okay, so to demonstrate what I'm talking about here, I have my cell phone and I have this one program here. It's basically a Bluetooth controller. I'm going to start the program, and it's already connected to my Bluetooth device that we're going to be using. And I'm going to hit the button, and you see it works the garage door. Hit it again, stops the garage door. Back up it goes. And to show you what my phone is talking to, it's this gaggle of wires and little boards over here. Now, the first thing that you need to figure out is exactly how you're going to use that Bluetooth controller to actually work the garage door. So I put a little thought into this, and I was like, well, as with most garage doors, you have one of these buttons that you can manually operate it while you're inside the garage. So my thought was, well, I need to find out exactly how that works on a garage door, because I can probably tap into that system somehow and operate the garage door with the Bluetooth controller. So I'm going to climb the ladder here, and I'm going to use this little jumper wire to demonstrate how that thing works. Okay, and on this brand, you can see it actually has push button, COM, safety beam. So this right here is where the wire comes in from the push button over there, and all it does is when you do it, it completes a circuit between this connector to this connector. And to demonstrate this with the jumper wire, I'll try to do this with one hand, and I'm just going to touch it. So as you can see, that operates the garage door. So what I've done, I've come in here, and you see this wire here, that does not belong. That's something that I've added to the system. This is actually me being me, I saw a vacuum cleaner out by the dumpster, and I cut the wire off of it because those things always come in handy, the cord off of it. So what I've done is I've come in here and I've hooked one end of it to one of the screws here and one to the other end, and then it follows down, it goes down that back wall that I just showed you earlier. Let me show you what we got. So here's the other end of the power cord for the vacuum cleaner, and nothing is going to shock you connect to the garage door opener, so don't worry about that. And so all I have to do now is when I touch these two together, here, it operates the garage door. Now my next step is to try to figure out how to get my phone to operate a Bluetooth device that can actually close that circuit for me. Okay, with all that being said, now my next goal is to somehow make my phone connect those two wires on the end of the vacuum cleaner cord together so they will operate my garage door. We're going to go up to the secret laboratory. I'm going to show you what I came up with. All right, guys, this is the item that I had hanging on the wall. I brought it up here to show you how it works and the different components for it. There are 3 different components in this setup. This is the actual Arduino microcontroller board here. This is the Bluetooth controller, and this is a relay. So what basically happens is that the Bluetooth controller listens for a connection, and then it's sent something. It tells the Arduino, hey, I just heard this. the Arduino hears what he said and reads its instructions. It says, oh, if I see this, then I'm supposed to do that. And then it sends information to your relay that has the power cord from the vacuum cleaner plugged into this end. And what it does, it closes the connection. So it's just like what I showed you with the two wires touching each other. This does it. It's actually mechanically. You can hear it click when it pops off. Now this is the Arduino board, not mounted. They come in different sizes and flavors. This is a smaller one here. This was the Nano version. It has the exact same functionality as this one, except for you can see it does not have a power supply. These boards run off of either 5 volts or 3.5 volts, so you would have to have a voltage regulator and your own power supply to hook up to this one right here. And they come in even bigger versions as well. This is a test board here. This is, again, your Arduino on this side, and you can hook all kinds of different components up to this. You can turn the lights on and off and have different breakout boards that do different things. All this is for, again, is testing it because it makes it really easy to plug and unplug and move things around. It's bigger, easier to see. So you get your program together, your components set up with this, and then you can shrink it down and do everything with the smaller components as well. And again, this is the Bluetooth controller. And then finally the relay for the breakout board. I'll have links up for these for Amazon is where I purchased these. They're not very expensive at all. This is probably 10-15 bucks worth of parts right here. You see on mine, I've also used one of these little generic boards. And I've come in and hooked it all together, and you can see I've done some soldering and things on the back, but I'm going to show you how to put these components together where you don't even have to get the soldering iron out. Now the first step is going to be to to program this microcontroller to tell it exactly what to do. I'm going to come up on my computer here and I'm going to show you the program that I used. You do not have to have programming experience to put this together for yourself. If you like, you could just cut and paste what I'm going to show you, and it should work with your setup as well. All right, before we get started, I want to explain a little bit more about the board. This picture here makes it a little bit easier to see what we're dealing with. Of course, you have where you plug it in, the USB, and then each one of these pins along the sides have a different function. The ones like D12, D11, these are input-output pins. They can either send voltage out, so they go from 0 to, in this case, 5 volts. If it's at 0, it's considered low. If it's at 5 volts, it's considered high. So that's when you look at the programming language here, you'll see where we use the terms low and high. Basically, low means no voltage, high means high voltage. On the other side here, you see you have ground and 5 volts. This is actually, when you connect your other components to the board, this can power your other components as well. Now in this corner here you have two things. It's a transmit and a receive. And this is how the devices talk to each other. You connect the transmit of this one to the receive of the other one, and the other one, the transmit of the other side comes in, it's received here. So that way the two boards can talk to each other. What we're going to do is when we get done with this programming is we're going to just have one of these pins. This is going to be designed to go from low to high. And that pin is connected to the relay. Once the relay sees that the signal is now high, it will activate and close your circuit there, so it will operate the garage door. I'll explain a little more about that in the future. But this is the main things that you need to know for the application that we're going to do. There is a ton of information out here on this. I'm not the person to teach you how to use Arduino. My goal here is to get you interested in a simple project to get going. Now let's move on to the actual coding and see what we're talking about. Okay, the first thing you need to do in your web browser is go to this website. It's arduino.cc. It's the home page where you can download the software to program the board. We're going to go to the software download, and then over here on the right we're going to choose from one of these download options. I use Windows 10, so the easiest thing if you're a Windows 10 user to just go to the Windows Store and download the app. If you want to go through some different options, you can choose the zip files. If you have a Linux system or Mac, those are there. So I'm just going to click this, and it's going to take me to this where I do not want to contribute at the moment. And then it should just open up a thing at the Microsoft Store, and you're going to say Get. It's going to go through its download thing. We'll come back when it's done. All right, and after it does the install process with the Windows Store, I'm going to come down, click on my Windows button, and then where it has Arduino IDE, that is the newly installed program, and I'm going to move this and just create a link on my desktop just to make it a little bit easier to get to. There we go. And I'm going to go ahead and double click it to start it. This will open up the programming environment, which is basically what you're looking at is like a text editor where you're going to type in text, but it also has different things that you need to set up to control your board. So here we go. It just opens up a blank, what they call a sketch or this program. And what I'm going to do now is cut and paste my garage door opener information into this. So I have it saved here. And when you're doing this, you can't miss not even one of these little brackets. So make sure that you get them all. I'm going to copy that. And we're going to paste that there. That's what it looks like. All right, I will now go through this line by line and give you just a brief explanation of what this program is doing. This is not going to be, this is just a very beginner's thing into the Arduino world. There are tons of videos and people out there that are a lot smarter than me that will show you any better. I just hope that you may get a little interested in this. So the first line here says include serial software, and that's just a library, and what a library is pre-written code, so you don't have to reinvent the wheel. And this is just going to allow the Arduino board and the Bluetooth board to talk to each other. This here is one of the pins that we talked about earlier. We're going to use pin 7 on this board, and we're going to define that as input pin. Now here we're going to create a variable, and we're going to name the variable state, and we're going to set that to 0. And all that means is that somewhere later in the program it's going to look for this variable, and I want it to already be 0, and I have chosen the name state here. The next part is when the board first starts up, it starts reading these things. And the first thing it's going to do is take your input pin and it's going to make it an output. So that way it sends something out of it. It's not listening. Here we're going to have where it's going to set that pin to low. We talked about the voltage earlier. This means it's going to have no voltage at it. This is an important setting here. It needs to be 9600. Back in the day when modems talked to each other, they used a baud rate, and the baud rates had to match up. You want your Arduino board running at 9600 on the baud rate because the Bluetooth board runs at 96, so that way they can talk to each other just fine. Here, when your phone is looking for the Bluetooth, and you can put any name here that you want. Of course, I have mine as K-Tech Garage. You can, your garage name there, whatever you want to name it, that's what your phone will see when you're looking for what to connect to. And then finally, your PIN number. I've just got this set at 4 zeros. I suggest if it's a garage, you come up with something a little more unique than that, so that way people can't get into your garage with their phone. Okay, after it starts, it runs through its setup thing, it starts running what you have in here, and it's going to read this, what says void loop. It's just going to basically, like it says, it's going to just completely loop through these lines of code right here over and over and over again. And all it's doing is it's looking for a change in this state variable that we declared at the top. So it's saying if the state is 0, like we told it when the program starts, what's it going to do? It's going to keep the pin as low. In other words, it's not sending any voltage out to that pin 7 like that. Now, when you use your phone and you press the button to open your garage door, what it does is it sends the number 1 to your Bluetooth controller. Your Bluetooth actually then sends that number 1 to the Arduino board, and all of a sudden the Arduino board says, hey, wait a minute, there's a 1 now. It's not a 0 anymore. So it goes, in this line of code here, what it will do, it changes the output of that pin to high. In other words, it sends 5 volts to it. It waits for 1,000 milliseconds. It then goes back to low, and then it resets the state variable to 0 right here, and then it starts reading over and over and over again. And what this line of code will do is once that pin is set high, it activates the relay and will actually touch like you're touching the 2 wires together. Again, it waits for 1,000 milliseconds, and then it turns the voltage off to that pin. So it's like pressing a button. You momentarily click, 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 click. So that is the meat of it. That is all that you need to know to get started with this. Okay, so to connect the Arduino board to the computer to program it, all you need to do is have your USB cord ready to go to plug in your computer. This one does take that larger, older version. So if you're going to buy you this Arduino Nano, it does not use micro or USB-C. It's that larger version, so you'll need to get the right one for it. So all we're going to do is just plug that in, and then we're going to plug it into our computer over here. And the computer makes this little happy sound. Something got plugged in. All right, and once it's up and running, you see what we have. It's waiting to be programmed. All right, after we've plugged the board into the computer with the USB, we're going to come up here. There's some things that we need to make sure is right so it can talk to the board correctly. And so we're going to choose Tools. And the first thing that you need to check and make sure is that you have your board set for your Arduino Nano. Now, if you went with a different board, you would need to pick it from this list, whatever you chose. Since we're using the Nano, that's what I have selected. The second thing that you need to do is make sure that you have the COM port set right, and there should only be one that comes up. It's the one that you plugged into. Then mine obviously is number 6 right there. So we're connected to COM 6. And finally, this setting for you probably just needs to be at 18 mega 328p. I have to use the one that says old bootloader because I've owned these boards for years, so these are older and they're outdated, I guess, compared to the newer boards. So this is the setting I have to use. If for some reason you're trying to upload and it's not working, you may want to change one of these to the other. All right. Now with the board connected and all, the first thing I need to do before I upload this to the board is I need to verify that I haven't made a mistake anywhere here. If you leave out even one of these brackets, it's not going to work right. So it has to be exactly right. So I'm going to choose this check mark and I'm going to hit verify. And you can see down here where you've got a progress bar and it says compiling sketch right here. And we want that to compile with no errors. And there it goes. If you have an error, it's going to come up in orange down here. It's pretty obvious. I'm going to pick this up just a little bit and make it a little easier to read. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm ready to upload this to my board. So this button here with the arrow pointing to the right, you see it says upload to the right of it. And we'll click that. And what it does, it has to recompile the sketch again, which it does a little quicker the second time around. And then it's going to start uploading it to your board. Mine said done uploading here, so that means that the board is now ready to go. Okay, once you have that done uploading without errors, we're ready to go ahead and hook the components up the way that I had them out in the garage, and I'm going to show you how to do that right now. Okay, so in order to hook all these components up to each other, I'm going to show you the ones that are actually going to be in use on these boards. We're going to start with the Arduino. The main one, of course, is pin 7. Remember, in the programming, that's the one that we specified. So when it gets its information, it's going to change this from no volts to 5 volts, and it's going to send that information to your relay board. I'm going to show you the relay board here. This is the actual relay. This is where you plug your the wire that runs to your garage door opening in. On this side, it's this side that we're concerned about. And you see on the down here at the bottom, it says DC plus, DC negative, and N. So N is going to go from pin 7 from your Arduino board to the N on your relay board. That's the first connection you need to worry about. The second connections from the Arduino to the relay board are going to be your power connections. So let's look here. Okay, here is the ground there. So that will run to the ground on your relay board. And then the other one that needs to run to the relay board as well is the actual voltage. There's the 5 volt pin right there. So this thing is outputting 5 volts here continuously, and as well as the ground here continuously. So from the Arduino again, D7 to the in port, and then ground and 5 volts right here. And when we're dealing with the actual Bluetooth controller, it also has to have ground and voltage. It says on the back of this, it doesn't say 5 volts, it says VCC. That's the orientation there, so it's VCC. So you'll need to run that 5 volts from here to the VCC pin. Then you have a ground, so you can run ground from there to there as well. And then the main thing is the transmit and receive. So on this board, this upper pin is the receive, and the middle pin is the transmit. Now on the Arduino board, it also has at the bottom here transmit and receive. Now this transmit here needs to go to the receive on this board here, and then the receive on the Arduino board needs to go to the transmit on the Bluetooth board. I'm going to use, since everything is so small, I think it might be easier if I show you on my actual test board. Just keep in mind that this thing is exactly the same as the smaller one that we were using earlier, or that you may use in your setup. So on my test board here, the first thing that I've done is I've come off of this side. This is ground and that's hot, and then I've applied them over here. So what that's going to do is going to send a ground and and 5 volts to all of these rails right here. So that way when I start hooking up my other components, I can actually run the power to them from these rails here. And here is, of course, the Bluetooth module, and I'm just going to plug it in. And if you don't know how these breadboards work, these rails, they're all hooked to each other. So whatever I plug in here actually plugs into there as well. So the first thing that I'm going to hook up is the power for this. And if you look at the back of the board, you can see where it's written on it. The first pin here is the hot, the VCC, which also means it's the power part. So I'm going to plug in there, and then I'm going to plug it into my rail here. The second one that I'm going to hook up is the ground, which is the one that's right beside it. So we'll go here and then over to our ground on this side. And the next part that we're going to go after is the transmit and receive. And if you look on the Arduino Uno here, you see it also has transmit and receive here. So the first one we're going to hook up to, we're going to do the receive on this one to the transmit on that one, which is going to look like this. The transmit one is the next one over, second from the end. And then we're going to hook that to the receive on the Uno board. And then the same thing goes, the last one is the receive. And then we're going to hook that up to the transmit on the Uno board. Okay, with that being done, it's ready to power up, and it'll start listening, and they can talk to each other, but they're not doing anything just yet. Okay, now I went ahead and set up my relay because you have to actually screw some things in, and didn't want to take the time to film all that. The things to know is that the one down here, the red wire is my power, the black wire is my ground, and the yellow wire is my signal. And if you remember on the controller, we chose pin 7. This is pin 7 right here. So that's going to go to our COM port. And now I can actually take the ground and power and get those plugged in on the rail. Remember, they're all getting their power from the Arduino board. And I'm ready to plug this in and give it a shot. So here we go. All right, with the everything set up, I'm ready to connect my phone to the Bluetooth here. So I'm going to open up this program that I'll show you in a second. You can download it for free off of Google Play. And it said it was connecting to KTech Garage over here. You see it now says connected. And I'm using these up and down arrows. They're all programmed to send a 1. So any one of these ones I hit, you should be able to hear the relay click now. You'll watch the light activate. You can see the little Bluetooth light over here will indicate when it hears it. I'm going to go ahead and push it down and let you watch it. On and off. On and off. It does it all by itself. And again, all these are programmed to the number 1. So they all, well, at least up and down are. Okay, I'm going to back up now. I'm going to show you the program here, and we're going to finish up this video. All right, I do not have access to an iPhone, just the Android. I imagine that it will probably be about the same. On the Android device, we're going to open up our settings menu, and we're going to choose connections and Bluetooth. And when you scroll down to the bottom of this, you can see where it has available devices, and you're going to look for the name that you chose to name your garage door opener, and you click on that, you put your PIN number in, and it should connect to it. Now, the
program that I use is this Arduino Bluetooth control. If you go to Google Play Store and you search, you'll come up, I search for the term Bluetooth controller, and you see it has a lot that you can choose from. I imagine they all probably work about the same, and for whatever reason, at the time, I actually settled on this one by this company, or people call BroX Code. Now, when you start that program, the first thing it's going to do is it's going to start looking for past connections that you've made, and if it does not find anything, you can look at this little recycle thing here, hit the recycle button or refresh, and choose your garage name out of that. And as you can see, I have K-Tech Garage. I can select it. Now, in order to set this up so it sends the right information to your Bluetooth controller, you click on this little robot face, and you see where it says key configuration here. Click on that, and then the only ones I'm using are the up and the down key, and when I click on it, you can see data to send to Arduino is 1. I've typed that 1 in, so when you click the button, it sends the number 1 to your Arduino. Same thing with your down. And that should have you set up. That coincides with the code that you put in the program. All right, let's get the controller hooked back up to my garage and finish up this video. All right, I've got this contraption hooked back up to the wire that runs up the garage door opener, and it doesn't matter which wire you put into which side, but the two on this one, I just chose these two that are on the right, the center one, and then the one on the right, and that will work your garage door opener. And I'll show you just one more thing before I close this out. If you don't want to do any soldering or anything, you can buy these type connectors, these jumper wires from Amazon, any place like really does hobbies and things. And this one right here is both sides of it are female. You can buy them female, male, 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 female, male. It doesn't matter. And the female sides will slip right over just like that, so you can connect. So I could actually put 4 on there, and I could have these all just hooked to my Arduino like that, rather than doing any soldering. So there you have it, guys. That was a lot of information in that video. I am not the expert on that. I'm a layman, a beginner as far as I go. I'm an enthusiast, a hobbyist. There are plenty of people on YouTube that are masters of that. If you come up with some kind of crazy idea that you want to try out, you can probably find somebody who's either done it or they've done something that's close to it that you can take their code and make your changes to it and make it work for you. If you like this video, if you want to see more things like this in the future on this channel, just let me know in the comments. Be sure to leave a like if this helped you out. I appreciate each and every one of you for watching, and I'll catch you on next week's video.